And good afternoon, students. And here we go for our next video. And we are going to talk about our next weldment. And this is with our E6010. And we are going to do a fillet weld with E6010. A fillet weld with the E6010. And so we're going to make sure that our amperage is set at about 85, 84, 85. Okay. And we're going to put on our nice welding helmet. And our nice welding gloves. We're going to take two pieces, please listen carefully, two pieces at 6-inch and a 1/4 inch thick, not the 8-inch thick, but the 1/4 inch thick, and they have to be 6 inches long. And we're going to take two pieces and we're going to tack them in a T position. The trick to this weldment is making sure that we get our T in the center of this 1 1/4 piece here. All right, so we want this in the center. Okay. Hopefully we still have some decent rod stubs in our bucket. That's another reason that I put the bucket here for you. And we're going to find a 6010 rod stub. No need to use a complete rod electrode to tack. And we're just going to eyeball it. I mean, if you want to get real technical, I guess you could get a tape measure out and a square and put it in the middle. But we're just going to eyeball it, and we're going to tack it on the edge. Okay. And you can see as it heats up, it starts to move, and so we can move it back to where we want it and tack it again. And that's good. That's all we need for a tack. Okay. Again, I'm not going to weld this thing out. It would take 20 minutes, 30 minutes to completely weld it out. But our first weld is a 2-pass. Remember, a 2-pass. Our first one is almost perpendicular. You want to be careful not to get too perpendicular because what will happen is your top plate here will pull the electrical current. You'll come out with this real funky looking weld. Okay, so you want not quite a 90 degrees, but you want to pull away a little bit. And as you're whipping back, you want to make sure that you're washing that puddle back up on the joint here. Okay, so forward, back, forward, back, forward, back. And you'll be able to watch as that puddle seals up this fine joint right here. And then you want that stack dime effect. Okay. And that's going to be the first pass. Your second pass is going to be at 90 degrees on top of that first toe, on top of that top toe, and then about 15 degrees in direction of travel on top. All right, that's going to be the first pass. I'll weld about halfway, maybe 3/4 of the way down, and then I'll throw a pass on top about halfway down on that, and then we'll take a look at it. Again, we're using E6010, 1/8 electrode. We're using that whip and pause motion, whip and pause, whip and pause, whip and pause, back and forth, back and forth. You want to pause just a half a second to let that puddle build up, and then forward and back, forward and back, forward and back, forward and back. Okay, and you want to keep that electrode in front of the puddle. You don't want to let the puddle or the arc, if you will, get behind that electrode. Okay. And cover up. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen.
And then you can just watch that puddle as it just flows together there. I wish I had my
GoPro cam. They've ordered me a GoPro cam, so I can put it inside my welding helmet, so you guys can see what it is that I'm doing. Okay.
Nasty weld, nasty electrode, but it does the job. It doesn't have to worry about being cleaned.
Works with very, very nasty metals. Come on, Mr. Clark, you can't hold on to anything. Okay, and you kind of see what I've got there. Okay, the majority of the weld is on the bottom of that plate. Okay. I'm going to crank this down just a little bit. I've got a little undercut there. I'm going to crank it down to about 80 and see what it does. Okay. And this is what I've been talking about in subsequent videos. You can see, I can see some of the undercut here on top. So I'm running just a little bit hot on this one. So I'm going to see what happens. And undercut, while it's not a good thing, you don't want a whole lot of it, but if you're running a secondary pass or a third pass, you can cover it up with your electrode, with the subsequent passes.
Okay, my next pass is going to be, again, at a 90 degree. And again, you typically want to keep your welding helmet down whenever you are chipping with your chipping hammer. Especially with this stuff, you don't want this side come flying up, hit you in the face, hit you in the eye. Of course, if it hit me in the face, it'd probably be an improvement. But I don't feel like going to the hospital. Because if I go to the hospital, especially today, then there's not anybody here for the whole welding class tomorrow. And then you guys wouldn't have anybody, well, you'd have to stay home. Very messy rod, very messy electrode, but it's very useful
in doing what it does. Okay, and I will clean that up with a wire brush so it looks more presentable. But there's, okay, I'll clean it up so you can see more better what it looks like more better. That's good English, Mr. Clark. Thank you. Okay, and so you see about a third of that bottom pass, and you've got that stacked dime look on there. All right, that is your two pass. That is your two pass. On the back side here, on the other side, we're going to do a three pass. And they're all going to be out of 45, driving into that corner, and you're going to run your electrode at a 45-degree angle, driving it into that corner. So the first one is going to be right here, driving at the joint. Your next one's going to be at the bottom toe. Your last one's going to be at the top toe. And again, I'll show you what I mean by bottom toe and top toe. Again, in my Bitmoji shop, there is a piece of paper somewhere under references that explains the different parts of the weld. You need to make sure, again, especially at this level, when I say the toe, the face, the root of the weld, you need to be familiar with those terms. What's the difference in a fillet weld and a gap and a groove weld? Okay, those are basic terms that you need to be familiar with. Okay, if you come to me and I say, hey, the face of your weld is not concave, or there's cracks in the face of your weld, and you go hold up a mirror and try to say, okay, right? So you need to be familiar with those basic terms. Okay, all right. So I'll run about half on this, just like I did on the other one. Again, I'm not going to run all day. I'm probably going to be pushing 15-20 minutes on this video anyways. But all right, here we go. Trying to get the arc where I want it to. There it goes. And you can see the metal getting very hot. You typically want to cool these things down, quench them about every second or third weld, especially with this. Even though you're not running as many amps as sometimes you do with 7018. Very, very nasty, very hot electrode. Yeah. Let me quench this real quick, boys and girls. It's just way, way hot. And listen, you see how long I was gone quenching that? Okay, that's about all the time you guys need to quench it. Some of you guys act like you're holding a baptismal service for your metal. Okay. Okay. This one's got, again, a little bit of undercut because the metal was hot, but that's all right. I'm going to fix it. Okay. But you can see everything's at a 45. Everything's at a 45, filling up these two joints here, filling up these two joints, a nice 45, stacking the dimes across there. Okay. So now I'm going to come in at the bottom toe here. I'm going to come in at the bottom toe, and again, the whip and pass motion all the way across there. When I'm done, I should have a nice beat across the bottom, and I should still see about maybe a third or a quarter of that first weld. Okay. All right.
So this weld, you have to, this final pass here,
You have to really pay attention, because if you look really close between the weld and the plate, this top plate up here, it's easy to get slag inclusion in there. All right. I don't care if you take it outside and you put it on a grinder or wire wheel, and get a wire wheel down in there, and make sure. Ooh, my gloves are smoking hot. And make sure that you are getting all the slag out of there, so that you don't have any type of slag inclusion. Can't even work a pair of pliers today. But you want to make sure that you don't leave any room for slag in between this weld and the plate right here. Okay. And again, even if that means taking it out and hitting it with a wire wheel. Okay, I think I got most of the slag out of there. And that's what you're looking for. You want it nice and clean in between there. All right. Now, my last pass is going to go right at that toe, right between the toe and where the metal meets. And so when I'm done, I should see about half of this weld and none of my first weld. You'll be able to see some of it here, but I'm going to run it right in that crevice right there. Okay. And there you go. There you go. And again, I'll clean this up with the wire brush so it looks a lot better. So it looks a little cleaner for you. And I'll have it sitting over here in the sitting on my desk whenever you get here. Okay. So now, again, as I said in my previous demonstration for the X, now you have 4 weldments that you should be working on. You have the X with the E6010. You have the X with the E7024. You have the lap weld with the E6010. And now you have the fillet weld or the T-weld with the E6010. Okay. Again, do not panic. These are not due until the end of the semester. But again, do not wait until the end of the semester to turn these in, because if they do not look passable, these are all or nothing weldments. I want perfection, quality instead of quantity. Again, quality instead of quantity. Okay. I would much rather you turn in something 2 or 3 or 4 times and it be spot on the final time. And so don't get discouraged if I look at that and say, let's try to work it again. Okay, so you got plenty of time. Do not get yourself all wrapped around, especially some of you that I know are really, really excellent welders. Okay, and you can do this. You can do this. Do not be afraid. This is Mr. Clark. I'll see you in the booth. I'm out.